Hey guys, this is Dan with Gears and Gadgets. Thanks for tuning in. I wanted to do a wrap-up video on the Harley Davidson Find Your Freedom Intern series that I published on this channel over the last month or so. It was 6 interviews, and I'll link them all in the description down below. I do suggest you watch them. They were really great conversations, and what these were interns that rode for Harley Davidson in the summer of 2018. Basically, Harley just gave them bikes, let them pick what they wanted to ride, and set them free for 3 months and let them document their journey. Now, I had the pleasure of speaking with Brock St. Clair, Meghan Glova, Tony Peries, Weidong Han, Tessa Otto, and Charlie Grimbly, who now goes by Cassandra. And now, there were 2 interns that I have not interviewed yet on the channel. I am actually speaking with one of them right now and might be able to set something up next month, and we'll see what happens with that. And the 2 that I haven't spoken with yet is Emma from Long Beach, California, and Alejandro Garrido from Miami, Florida. Those are the only 2 that I didn't get a chance to talk to, but I would love to speak with them on the channel. And, you know, just kind of wrapping this whole series up, what's fascinating to me is, first of all, there was not a single dud out of the entire group of these people that I spoke to. It really goes to show how amazing Harley Davidson is at finding talent when they want to. I'm going to go through all of these interns. First, I'm going to start and just kind of go in order of which I interviewed them. Brock St. Clair. Brock is from Starkville, Mississippi. He is like a modern James Dean is how I describe him. He has a radio voice that's just absolutely incredible. He has a great personality. He has incredible video editing skills. He actually has a pretty successful 2 successful YouTube channels, and really could have grown the brand out in that arena without really much help from Harley Davidson. Now, going into Meghan Glova. Meghan is she's from Charlotte, North Carolina. She's a news reporter and the kind of bubbly girl that was, in my opinion, an example of a female rider that Harley Davidson has no affiliation with right now at all. I would say that Meghan Glova, prior to that internship, probably never thought of Harley Davidson, and there's probably a ton of women out there that haven't. And in my opinion, she is just another very well-spoken, just great example of somebody that could have represented Harley Davidson to that demographic incredibly well, and produced content around it and helped build a little bit of a following to maybe help break into that market a little bit. Now, Tony Peries from London, he is an example of the person that Harley already has. And they had him before he even got the internship. This job or internship for Tony was an absolute dream come true, as it was for everybody else. But for him, he already loved the brand of Harley Davidson. So getting an opportunity to ride for a few months for Harley Davidson, as he put it, nobody even believes him when when he tells a story. He works for Sykes Harley Davidson over there in England, and it's the dealership that, if you guys are familiar, Moto Noob Rider does quite a bit of content on bikes from Sykes, and so it's just interesting to see him carry on with the brand. I'm happy that he did, but he didn't carry on with the brand with any sort of support from Harley Davidson corporate. He carried on with the brand from Harley Davidson local dealership that met him at an event while he was doing that internship, and reached out to him and offered him a job. So with that being said, he is the greatest success story in this Harley Davidson world of continuing on with the brand by some form or fashion. Then we go on to the next interview I did, which was Weidong Han from Wuhan, China. And he's now in the Philippines. He's building out a hostel for travelers. He is one of the most fascinating people I've probably ever talked to in my life, period, from a standpoint of just having no fear. He came over to the U.S. For school, I believe at 19 years old. He was in Dayton, Ohio. And when he got to the U.S., he ended up logging 70,000 miles of adventure riding. He went to 49 of the 50 states and just crushed it. So when Harley Davidson reached out, when he reached out to them, got the internship, and he got his Sport Glide, he just went and started crushing miles, and just kind of almost like a loner, just traveling and just posting the most incredible content that I've seen on Instagram probably ever, especially in the world of like motorcycles. Just a really incredible guy. And Probably one of the ones that kind of pulled on my heartstrings the most, because he really wanted a job with Harley Davidson, and it really just kind of came down to sponsoring visas from, foreigners. And I don't know how a lot of that stuff works. I don't know if it's right or wrong. I tell you, I felt like it was wrong that they didn't offer him a position. Now, I will say this, and I mean it wholeheartedly. Harley Davidson, if you do not have a Pan America slated for Weidong Han to just crush miles and post a ton of content proving that Harley Davidson has an adventure bike that's worth talking about, you're doing yourself a disservice. Now, Tessa Otto, she's from Kenton, Wisconsin, a town of like 120 people. Again, just Midwest, represents kind of that area really, really well. And kind of like a gritty girl, just a really incredible person to represent the brand of Harley Davidson. She's right in the backyard of Harley Davidson, and to this day says that she would go to work for them in a heartbeat again. She produced a bunch of great content with Brock. Her and Brock pailed up and traveled back and forth across the country and did all these incredible rides. And again, just another great person to represent the brand and do it well. And another person who's willing to turn around and go right back to the brand tomorrow if they were to offer something for her. And then there was Charlie Grimbly, who goes by the name of Cassandra Ann, and she has a YouTube channel. She just hit 1,000 subscribers. Huge landmark. Congratulations to her. She's from Cape Town, South Africa. She's just a very well-rounded traveler. Very, very interested in building out a YouTube channel, building out a following. Did some incredible travel vlogs, probably the best that I saw as far as just getting on a bike and going for rides through Europe and really exploring and representing kind of like the European travel kind of lifestyle, and did a fantastic job representing the brand for that area. And in my opinion, it just goes through all of these content creators that were just fantastic potential for Harley Davidson to grow something and reach to a younger audience. So I am incredibly honored that they all spent time talking to me on the channel here. It definitely gave me a great insight to Harley Davidson, the brand, Harley Davidson, as far as their ability to listen to youth. And it definitely gleaned some insight into the former regime of the Matt Levatich time at Harley Davidson. One of the things I was most interested about with this internship was I had kind of assumed that these interns were maybe answering to some low-level marketing, that it had the support of higher-ups at Harley Davidson, but to find out that they were actually reporting directly to Matt Levatich, or let me rephrase that. He was a part of panels and discussions where they were speaking, and he was a part of it. And they all had direct contact with Matt Levatich from what they say. And, the conversation was there from a standpoint of youth in America and what they thought about the brand. Seems to me like a half-cooked up idea that, as Tessa put it, they ran it through the legal department, got all of that cleared, because if somebody were to get hurt on one of those bikes, it would have been devastating to the brand to have a program that they built around getting youth to ride that ended up with somebody getting hurt or worse, killed. So the fact that Harley was willing to make that swing was one of the most impressive parts of that entire thing. And the fact that they were willing to do it was great, and they swung for the fences and they missed, and instead of staying in the batter's box for the next two pitches, they just kind of walked back to the dugout and gave up. And I don't understand why, because they got all the way there and then just never proceeded to do anything with it. Now, out of the 6 interns, 3 of them still have their bikes, and the other 3 sold them. And some of the people, I was kind of afraid on this channel that people would start teeing off on them for selling bikes they got for free. I don't look down on that, because these are all college kids who, straight out of college, have ambitions, goals, want to buy houses, maybe didn't have cars, maybe a whole bunch of reasons. Or, like Brock actually went and traveled across the country to pursue another career endeavor. And these aren't 40-year-old people that have houses where they can just park the bike in their garage and come back to it in 6 months. These are kids who didn't really have a place for these bikes to go. And the ones that didn't have a place for them to go, they liquidated them and turned around and used that for resources to pursue career goals. So I have no problem with that at all. It's pretty interesting to see that the whole program in itself kind of exposed the flaws of the program, where out of all 6 of these interns, they all mentioned price. And if it wasn't for getting a free motorcycle, they wouldn't be riding. So it's not that they didn't love the brand. They did love the brand. So in my opinion, Harley Davidson could and should have continued on with the program and looked at it and said, okay, our number one hurdle is that price is what would keep all 6 of these interns out of the brand. Now, that's something that Harley Davidson can work out and kind of just almost ignore the most important fact of the fact that kids can't afford Harley Davidsons, but just continue on with the program and start to figure out, okay, so price is an issue. We know it's an issue. It's the number one top issue that's probably causing people not to ride. So we gave these kids bikes, and now we're going to let them ride and kind of expose a lot of the other obstacles, because it's not just price. People are buying $50,000 pickup trucks. They're spending $35,000 on cars. They don't have to. You can go out and buy an $18,000 car tomorrow, but everybody's choosing to spend more money on cars, and they could choose to spend more money on bikes. They're choosing not to, and there's, in my opinion, probably because there's a lot of other hurdles that Harley needs to figure out, and you're only going to do that with a long-term focus group, which I think that they had the perfect team to do that. Now, I've mentioned this before, that they should be reaching out to college campuses. They should be putting themselves in front of the younger generation, just so that the conversation even starts, because right now it's really not even there. So you can use these younger people to reach that demographic, just to put them in front. And then once you do that, start looking at things about, okay, so if you're in a climate where it rains a lot, or you have winters, people aren't buying bikes because they need to also have a car. So how can we work with the new modern tech landscape of Uber and Lyft? Could Harley have a partnership with Uber or Lyft and really start to find ways to get around those obstacles and present motorcycling to people now as a better opportunity than it ever has been because of these new things. Then there's other issues about parking bikes. Tessa mentioned she was parking her Street Glide behind an apartment at a bike rack, and it's just not ideal. So how do you approach some of these bigger issues that the youth face? Start hearing from them and listening to them about what some of these issues are. Start kind of learning maybe what marketing messaging should be. Tessa put together a fantastic commercial that I think Harley Davidson should and could have ran with really quite well and should have ran with. Weidong Han had some very amazing points about marketing messaging that they could have been doing differently, mentioning seeing a billboard that had the fist that said "Ride Hard" across the knuckles, and even him saying, you could change that brand messaging to a tattoo that says "Ride Safe," sponsored by Harley Davidson. So yeah, it still has the hardcore tattoo Harley Davidson kind of image, but is kind of a little bit more modern in its messaging. But there's just so many things that I heard from every single one of these interns that I thought like every one of them had some bit of gold in them that Harley Davidson could have easily mined and paid attention to and really pulled something out of that program, instead of just kind of a quick 3-month boot kind of thing and let it be what it was and end of story. So really disappointed in Harley Davidson not converting any of these interns into full-time employment. As I said, I know for a fact, after speaking to the 6 out of the 8 that I've spoken to, that there were 100% opportunities for employment there, without question. Fantastic people. So really hope to see Harley Davidson with Jochen Zeitz maybe find a way to reach out to some of these people and do it in a way that allows them to really grow within a brand that they love, that they were kind of brought into and then kind of kicked out of. And sure, it was an internship. It wasn't meant to be full-time employment. But again, the fact that none of them got a job, it doesn't sit well with me at all. It just kind of furthers the message that Harley's tone deaf to youth. and kind of looked at these younger interns and just kind of looked at them as disposable. It seemed to be just a very quick, focus group that really had no long-term agenda at all. And I don't know, seems like a squandered opportunity that took a lot of resources and time, effort to get moving and going, to do nothing with it. I don't know, very short-sighted, very short-sighted. So with that being said, that is my wrap-up of the 2018 Harley Davidson Find Your Freedom Interns. I'm super thrilled that they all came on the channel and took time to speak with me. I'm honored that anybody gives me 2 seconds of their time at all. So, thank you guys very much to each and every one of you. I truly mean it from the bottom of my heart. Anybody ever interested in coming on the channel to talk again, it is an open invite, absolute open invite. So with that being said, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. If this is your first time tuning in, please hit that subscribe button down below. Remember, likes go a long way to help support the channel. I'll see you guys next time.